It's only 4 degrees here. It's very cold.
Okay.
It's warm in Melbourne.
We're counting down. Oh, Julian's got coffee. That's not fair.
So it's Richard. I can see you, Richard.
Yeah, we go in FabrianoInAcqurello 2021 with the group, the country community of Australia. Go win, please.
Thanks, Anna, and welcome to everyone to Australia. We should have a big Fabriano sign behind us, but we've got Ferry's beautiful watercolour on canvas exhibition, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But we decided to go live instead of video, which is a bit scary. And I've got 3 of our artists who are currently hanging in Fabriano, Anna. They are part of the work at the Galleria dell'Arte, and I'm very excited to present them. And we're going to introduce each of us and then let that person talk, and then we'll come back and talk to Ferry about the exhibition on canvas. So Richard Chow is our artist who was the country representative for FabrianoInAcqurello 2018. This is one of Richard's works here. And Richard is an amazing artist based in Sydney. And would you like to show us your studio and talk to us, Richard, about your work?
Hello everyone. Good morning from Sydney, from winter Sydney. Let me give a little bit introduce of myself. My previous major is oil painting when I studied in China. After I moved to Australia, I focused on watercolor for a couple of years. The majority of my work are portrait. I'm very interested in portrait painting because I want to know different culture, different religion, different background after my subject. But I also do something like landscape and still life. Here, I introduced some a little bit background of me, there are some paintings I will to share with you and to give more information of my paintings. So the first one is the painting behind me, the biggest one. This is the title of the painting is "The Beauty of Face." The beauty of this is actually in a religious festival in Tibetan. Normally in Tibetan, this kind of festival, they have Buddhist lecture. They are the audience. The audience listen to the Buddhist lecture. There's very special people in the middle. He hold a book. A Buddhist text. The expression of all the people inspired me very much. So I spent such a long time to finish this one. This is the first one I talk with, and here I will share this painting. This month, the subject is Aboriginal dancer, and also he is a role model in Aboriginal community. When I saw him in Australian National Day dancing festival, has very special expression. So I took a lot of photo reference, and after that, I painted a series of Aboriginal dancer. So also the Aboriginal people is quite numbers of paintings of my work. Yeah, the third one I will introduce is the sick old man. He is a very gentle old man. I say it's very special is this photo, this reference is I took in Fabriano Watercolor Festival in 1918. There was an Indian festival in the town center that day. I talked with the old man and asked for permission to take some photos and chat with him. He's very gentle and a quiet old man. Okay. Another piece is about rodeo. Rodeo is a very traditional sport in Australia. The movement attracts people a lot. So I planned a series of rodeo.
Amazing, Richard.
Thank you. It's quite big. It's quite big.
Yeah,
So
no, it's really great. Great. And you, go on, you're right.
Yeah. Recently, yes, I did a lot of large size watercolor paintings. Because as we know, watercolor is a very classic medium. But I want to try something different. I want to discover the disability, the possibility of the traditional medium. Stand on the contemporary view to try my best to do it.
And Richard, your big piece at the back, your big piece of work with the Tibetan group is on board, is that correct? It's watercolor
yes.
on board.
Yes,
so go on, you're right.
Yes, it's on paper. Use the paper roll because it have no normal size. I use the paper roll and stretch it on the board.
Yes, and adhere it. You adhere it to the board.
Yes, on board. Stretch the paper on board.
It's amazing. And your frames that you're using on the young girl down the bottom.
Yeah. Yes, let me show this one. Yeah, it's a very quality frame. It's made by Melbourne-based craftsman Henry. Yeah, he did some frames for national galleries and things, museums. Yeah, because my painting have something like oil painting look. So it's I think it's much better to match the frame.
Yes, and also it really matches your floral work when you do your flowers, which we can't see today because they're all hanging in the Hotel Continental. But Richard has done this amazing series of flowers, which is now hanging in the Hotel Continental. So it's amazing. Richard, do you want to talk to any of the other work before we move over to Jude?
Yeah, because time is limited, so I just have a quick look.
Wow.
This one is a young Indian artist.
Yes.
When I traveled to India in 2018, I met him and him after. There is also a original face, original portrait.
Richard loves to do Indigenous figures from Australia. I think you've become a true Australian representing our culture, Richard, more so than some of ourselves. So it's amazing. I tried to get Richard to come in September to Cairns, but we think he's going to South Korea instead, but we'll see what happens. We'll see. We might come back to you, Richard. Just hold on to your work. And Jude, are you there, Jude?
I am. I'm here, Wynne. Yes.
And look at you.
Good morning from Perth. Yeah, good morning from Perth in Western Australia. And welcome to my studio, which is also my little gallery, which is really, I think, interesting for students when they come for classes. I've got all sorts of subject matter set up and hanging on the walls. I love doing florals. I don't know, is that clear?
Can I introduce you? I should introduce you.
Yes.
Sorry.
Sorry.
If I can come on. Jude has been, Jude is actually hanging in Fabriano at the moment, and this is her work in the catalogue from 2019. Sorry, a bit clumsy here with the catalogue. But so Jude has been one of our Australian artists that has actually come to Fabriano and sat in the piazza and enjoyed everything there. And so we hope again this happens again in the next couple of years. But sorry, go on, Jude. I just wanted to showcase that you were part of what happens.
Okay, that's fine. No, I've been to travel to Fabriano and wandered around and seen all the wonderful exhibitions there in 2017 and 2018, I think it was, and really enjoyed it. So this is my space. Is that clear, Wynne? Can you see that?
It's lovely.
Okay. Yeah. And we've got a beautiful garden, and I love to paint flowers. I've always loved the intricacies of the delicacy of petals and the light streaming through petals. And I also like doing still life with florals and sort of breaking it up a bit and going more abstracted for a challenge. If I just go through the ones that I have behind me, the hydrangeas are actually painted on aluminium. I've experimented recently with painting small and large watercolours on aluminium and then having it framed so that it doesn't have to be hung under glass. Shipping paintings under glass is always problematic, so I've found this way of doing the watercolour that it doesn't have to be under glass. I've got lots of roses behind me, as you can see. The one just up there is some local, we have beautiful blue wrens here, and that's a vase of wattle, which I've abstracted the background. I've got other different flowers. And moving around, I've also started going into more just pure abstracts, like these very atmospheric watercolours here, which is part of my Lakelands series. I just love playing with mood and light and the different textures that you can achieve with watercolour. And then I've got some very... No, they're just on board. No, just on paper. And I've just put a mat around them.
Okay.
And then down further, there's just a few more artworks on the wall, and that's down to the far end of my studio. So that's my workspace and probably my favourite place in the entire world. I think like every...
I don't have any.
A pattern?
I don't have any. I don't have any work space, so it's really
nice. Well, I'm very lucky. My husband gave up half of his shed and turned it into a studio for me. So it's a beautiful art space, and I'm very lucky to have it. So I really like to explore different techniques and different ways of painting. And I think when you get comfortable in watercolor painting maybe one subject, you just always have, if you're like me, I have many things stored up and think, right, I want to paint that, I want to try this, I want to push the boundaries. And you're always looking for new ways to do different things and to try different techniques. So lots of things really interest me to paint, but I think overall it's probably trees, flowers, and I love portraits as well. So
Okay, so we'll introduce Julian and then we can come back for a general conversation. So Julian Brewer is joining us from Melbourne, and Julian is our country representative from 2019. So this work here, which I can't zoom in that close, is one of the pieces. It's an amazing piece of a wine grower in the King Valley area of Victoria. And Julian's going to talk to us now because he goes up to the King Valley and paints clean air and does the most amazing snow gums, as you're about to see. Thanks, Julian.
Hey, thank you, Wynne, and thank you, Richard and Jude. Really enjoy just seeing the work of my other artists in place here, and Ferry will come on in a moment as well. And the thing I admired about Richard's work was that lovely intricacy and detail holding the snapper light. And what I enjoyed about Jude's work is also that freshness and freedom and holding the light and exploring the colour. And I would like to think, coming from lovely gloomy Melbourne, which is down in the south end of Australia, and it rains here all the time, as we know, although it's pretty reasonable today. The colourings are kind of different. And I reckon Wynne up in Queensland would have a whole different colour palette as well. So my colour palette is derived from different experience, and the different subjects I choose, like the snow gums to portraiture to landscape, maritime, you find your palette builds and often your colours get repeated in it. So you often can recognise someone purely by their colour palette as much as their subject. I'd like to feel like the alpine snow gums are my sort of area of exploration and my niche, if you'd like. And I think artists always like to feel they stand for something. This one on the board has never been seen by anyone. It's been on a board for 5 years, 6 years. It's not that it's taken that long. It's just that I love having them around for a while and just picking away at it and spending time on it. So it's on an elephant sheet. Everything looks smaller on camera, of course. But this one's sort of a little bit of a hybrid of how I work. I tend to do a lot of photography and sketching or experience up in the high plains, and then come back in to work in the studio. And what I've found over time, because I've painted a lot of these snow gum scenes, is that you often can reference very closely if you need to from your photos or your drawings, but often they lend themselves to a more biomorphic approach, which I think Jude would appreciate with her mood work that she was showing at the end.
Yes.
That often you don't really need the real subject, you just need the experience with you as well to almost ad lib it and create it. So in this one, this side here has been closely referenced and this side has been totally invented. And this one is just sort of a loosely based on something but invented. And it's mirroring those sorts of concepts so that you don't become a slave to your reference, but you honour it and work with it. And you'll often see that in portraiture. I think you sometimes need to honour your reference before you move into the exploration, but often in a portrait you'll be able to, in clothing or in lighting, or exploit and explore the photo. So ultimately I think every painter has to find that their workpiece supersedes their reference if they're using it, or it harnesses their imagination as it goes on. So as I say, this is my favourite areas. Alpine snow gums have a humanistic reference to me because these trees grow in very harsh conditions up in the alpine area. They're under snow and wind during the winter, and then bushfires and heat and dryness during the summer. And they live for 200 to 300 years. And over that time, they become hugely affected by the environment they grow in. They grow on a very certain level. They're about 12 to 1400 metres, I think, from memory. So they're a very narrow band of height tree. They have a tuber underground, which is why they survive all those conditions. And they grow these sort of very exotic and twisted tree patterns out, which lends itself to what I'm trying to do with my painting, in that it allows exploration. I can reference this and see it, or you can imagine it, because anything you can imagine is likely to be out there. This is a similar one, and you'll probably notice how when it goes on, it's only a different form of shapes. It's quite repetitious in colouring. The same sort of twists and textures and things like that are being explored into it. This one didn't take as long. This one was sort of a week or two working on it, which is what I like to do. But the other work I like to work on is also, because I teach, is portraiture and still life and landscape. But in this one, I'm working on a portrait, which was the sort of the first piece I entered into Fabriano with the Italian winemaker that Wynne pointed out in the book. And again, in it, I'm now looking at much brighter colouring because you can control the light. It's very different to the gloom of the snow gums. So working on a portrait, this is Fiona Bruce off Fatal Fortune. So it's taken off the telly, which is totally naughty of me, but it had such a lovely expressive light. And it becomes a teaching piece or a viewing piece rather than an exhibition piece. They sort of have more spontaneity, and I think, Jude, you probably relate to it a little bit more in that it's not as laboured as perhaps the Snow Gums has a sort of improvisation, some drips and runs with it. Where does that all come from? It comes from, if I show it, so that's a sketchbook on location up in Dinner Plain, and these are just quick snap images, and these ones are done very, very quickly. They're usually done in about 10 to half an hour or something like that, but very fast. It's on a smooth hun or the paper. The paper doesn't take a lot of work. It needs to be very raw, finished sort of work. And I think that's every artist will have a sketching, drawing background in watercolour where they're likely to have explored in very simple form, fast form, work that becomes far more informational and detailed as they go into it. So this one was a sketchbook that I've had, went to England. So here we are in London, Kensington. I won't show you all of them. There's about 30 of them. Tower of London. I think that was actually from a snap. I didn't want to paint on the boat. Here we are at Chippen Camden in England. So this is an English tour sketchbook. Shift to drawing. So I love pen and ink work as you go along. Churches. And these are sort of sketches that will never go anywhere other than being in a sketchbook. And they get a private viewing every now and then as we get a place like this to have a bit of a show of them. And their purpose is they allow you to really explore a subject for your very self. So it's very much painting for you rather than an audience even, or for it, certainly not for sales. So that's kind of a little bit about my background in painting. I tend to like to work small, intimate, close, personal, drift into your main pieces, whether it be portrait or the Snow Gums. Probably the Snow Gums are my favourite niche. And I think that time factor would be an interesting question to pursue. I can spend weeks and weeks on a painting or minutes on a painting. And I suspect Jude and Richard would be both in those sort of scales as well. I'm sure Richard does longer work, and I'm sure with Still Life, Jude, you'd do some studies as well. When do I throw back
all
to
the
you?
time?
Thanks, Julian. What I'll do is talk with Ferry for a few minutes and welcome you to Fish Lane Studios. When we come back, Julian might like to show you some of his maritime work, because Julian is also known for his maritime work. So if you want to find some of your pieces, Julian, while I talk with Ferry, that'd work as well. But Ferry's our exhibition artist for this month. What you're seeing here is Fish Lane Studios, which is also a studio for me. And I do some work. I'll show you in a minute what I do. And I might get a surprise to see some of my work because she very rarely sees anything. I only ever seem to be presenting other artists. But Ferry is our winner from last year's Australian Watercolour Muster. And we decided to challenge everyone last year about, because I was stuck at home, obviously, to try different things. Like Jude's done with her substrate on aluminium, we put in a category in the Australian Watercolour Muster, which is our platform in Australia to learn about our Australian artists, to introduce them to FabrianoInAcqurello, because we found that we're such a big country, we wanted a way to get new artists to come to us, and we didn't want to just talk to our friends as such, but we wanted to open up all of Australia and see what artwork is available to then send to Italy when we can. And at the moment, we've got 32 artists hanging in Fabriano in the gallery there. So Ferry was our winner in category 2 on canvas, and we might let Ferry show you her work. It's going to be upside down, I think, unless you want to. There you go. So we can turn it around, actually. Turn it around. It's an amazing piece of work, a magnolia taking shape on the canvas. And what Ferry did a demonstration for us, and what she discovered was that there is techniques that you need to apply a little bit to when you're painting on canvas as opposed to.
Yes, it's different.
Do you want to talk about what your experience was?
I can do that. Yeah, I used to work on the paper, watercolor paper, but when we include this extra category, I just jump into it because, as Jude said, it's always a problem. The frame and the glass on the painting. And always I want to just free myself of that, because sometimes the customers, they don't like the frame, or the reflection of the glass is a problem, or shipping, as Jude said. So I jumped into it and I started to work on it. And at the beginning, it was totally different from the technique you're using. You know, I love watercolor paper. They're amazing. So I have to really adjust and push the paint around to adjust. And I think I did it, and I won the prize.
Well, the work behind us, Ferry experimented with one piece and submitted it to the muster, as we said. And then when she was accepted as the best in muster for that category, we said to her, okay, so the prize is a solo exhibition. And she said, oh my God. So the work behind us and around the walls, which I'm too far away from my camera to move to, is 6 months work, and it's stunning work. It is really, actually, I'll get up and so you can see some of it, hopefully. You'll see some mess in my studio as well, maybe, but there is some more of the work. And so it is really amazing to see what in 6 months Ferry has been able to produce. And on an experimental surface as well, because this isn't straightforward. Ferry started working with grounds and putting grounds on the board, and then she also
just the absorbent ground golden. You can put it, apply it on the canvas with a big brush, or you can just buy the already made watercolors, already primed for them.
And Ferry uses these amazing little brushes as opposed to my big wash brushes that I use, and she does amazing work. So this is really an amazing thing, and I know that Lauren McCracken in America is going to have an exhibition in New York in the Chelsea district of 10 American artists who have experimented with this surface as well. So we're looking forward to seeing that when Lauren gets that together. But I do paint. I don't know if we can see this. Yes, we can. This is some of my work that was with Fabriano in 2018. This is a print of the work. The original is gone, but this is a print of the work. And I tend to do abstraction, and my passion is to have to play with the chemistry of watercolor. So I love to use a lot of water and put that in with the paint. And I don't mix on a palette like most artists you see use their palettes and they're all mixed up. I tend to use bowls and put primary colours in and let them mix on the paper. So that is sort of the way I work. And Julian, I've got a sketchbook as well. I bought this in Fabriano, Anna. I bought this in Fabriano, and I took it with me when I went up to France to do workshops in France after we left doing Fabriano. And then we ended up in Scotland, because I always say to my husband, where would you like to go at the end of all this art? And he chose Scotland. And so we were sitting in a little B&B on the Isle of Skye and looking out to the New Hebrides. So a sketchbook is amazing. So I'm quite pleased with having taken this. But as you can see, after that, I haven't done much sketching.
Because you are busy with the gallery.
So, and that we've got Julian, just going back to Julian, we've got Julian coming in next month as an exhibition, but some of it's maritime work. Did you find some of your work, Julian?
I found one that I've got, but I think you've got my other pieces, and I do them spasmodically. But
okay.
This one sort of is an historical sea battle from 1794 during the Napoleonic Wars. So all the shipping in here precedes photography. So your reference is from drafts and artist work and the like. So it's a subject that's been a passion of mine as a child. And so I keep on just coming back to it, reliving the history a little bit and reading. And you need to learn how to draw the ships. It's probably like somebody who's a bird artist or a floral artist. They need to understand their subject more and more. So in this one, the marine work is a reading and research, and the painting is almost the output of a lot of that understanding and reading. These are all created from scratch. This is a scene of the glorious 1st of June when the Vengeance was sunk. It's an angle that's never ever been seen. That's sort of you're looking to try and find gaps in the market, if you'd like. And paintings that have never been painted is what I'm trying to do with my marine stuff. And so you find storylines and construct them. It won't show there, but there is hundreds of people. I'm fairly cruel to them, really. I just let them drown and sort of go down off the ship. But there's a few boats.
It's scary stuff.
Another side with artists is that not everything's about your teaching, not everything's about your sales exhibition side. Some of it is just your absolute love of painting. And when you're obviously, I reckon, when you did your sketchbook, you had that moment where you just know you really love the painting that you've done in there. And I think sometimes at these different levels where you're working very, very personally and away from any sort of commercial aspect is where an artist will often find their true soul or love of their painting again. Because often I think if you're working productively a lot, doing a lot of teaching, doing a lot of workshops, it can take the edge off your enjoyment of painting. So I think it's important to find ways to reconnect into what you really want to be painting.
So, Julian, thanks for that. And yes, we were going to have some of your work hanging, but we decided that it would be exciting to show this different work on canvas. So Julian will be with us from the beginning of next month here in Fish Lane Studios. And that will be exciting. And we have got some of his maritime work on display as well. So we'll be able to showcase that on Facebook and Instagram as well as we go. So do you want to show some more of your pieces of work? Are you happy to?
Yes, I could. I'll pull down this one here for you. This is quite, for me, quite a personal piece. Because we have lots of beautiful blue wrens here. I know they're in many states across Australia, but I just love the combination of opposites, the purple blues and the yellow. And yellow, I find, is quite a difficult colour to paint because unless you can understand warm and cool yellows, it's very hard to paint wattles. So it's also been quite inspirational, I hope, to students who want to learn to paint sunflowers or wattles that are in yellows and how to get the difference in tone and temperature in the colour. So I also like to abstract things out. While I've got a reasonable amount of reality, I also like to push and pull with the dimensions so that some things come forward and then they sort of disappear into the next subject. I really find that interesting, and I can really sit there and lose myself in paintings like that. Rather than have to perhaps do a portrait or, you know, stick to what you see for a commission in a landscape. So I've absolutely loved painting that one. I'll just get another one. The one that's here behind me, I can bring my camera a little bit closer. I really loved doing the light in that and getting the light in those beautiful roses. I don't know if the photography is very good, but I only have to go out into the garden to find subject matter for when I'm painting flowers. So I can do roses now in all sorts of formats without having to look at a photograph because they're imprinted in my brain And when you're gardening all the time, we've got a huge range of colours, different flowers, tropical. Being in Perth, we can also have things like sweet peas, or we can have roses, or we can grow mangoes. We're very lucky with the climate here. The most recent ones I've been working on are my abstracts. And I've done this as part of what I've called a Lakelands subject. And I just see where my battery is running low. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I hope
Because I want to ask Anna if I would like to ask Anna if she's got any questions she would like us to answer as well. Anna, do you have anything?
Not actually question, Win, but I have to express myself. I knew those artists very well, and it's a joy to see you live, because as we said yesterday many times, it's great to come inside your house. And so I'm grateful to you for your job, for your art, but
we're very grateful to you, Anna. Thank you
for giving us the possibility to see you live. This is very important, because first it is important for us to build a real relation among all the people. And really, guys, you are amazed. Win, you know, I feel very close to Fishland Lane Studio, to all your community. I find the Australia community is amazing, very inspiring. You are very different. All of you are great, great artists. And I love whatever you do. And also love your culture. Win knows very well. I've been studying and reading a lot about the autochthon culture in Australia, and I find that you get along very well to each other, and this is important for art. It is important for community.
It is important, Anna, and we really have become really great friends, I think. Jude and Julian.
Yes,
and Richard,
yes.
We meet each other in different parts of Australia, and now Ferry has joined our team, and you know, you feel like they're family, really. But you know, this last week has been amazing, Anna, with everyone from all over the world joining together. And you have to go and have a sleep shortly, because you are amazing. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning over there in Italy. No. And I know the teacher and Giovanni are there as well. And you know, I'm just blown away with what you have organised, and we are very honoured to be part of that. So in September, we would have loved to have you in Australia. We are going to go to the north of Australia. And I deliberately tried to organise a visit to some of our Indigenous art caves to take you there, hoping that you would be able to come. So it's been amazing, but that's COVID and we can't bring you. But we'll share as much as we can with you.
Yes, please. Please, thanks to the technology now, we can travel even when we don't travel.
Absolutely. And Ferry's showing you one of her final pieces.
Oh, wow. Wow, beautiful.
And this is something that's very special. As a person who's just recently come to Australia, I feel like this is almost a simulation art, because she's looked at our flora and fauna, and she has created this amazing piece of work. So thanks.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Julian. Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Anna. And
sorry to interrupt you.
Thank you, Anna.
You only
Thank you, Win.
Okay.
Sorry, Anna. What are you saying?
That you only have 2 minutes left.
That's what I was thinking. So we're ready to go. So we're happy to cut us off.
Thanks for the wonderful opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you a lot. We will be there one day. Thank you a lot.
I know.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Good luck to Fabriano.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.